I remember Dan saying, you're going to be surrounded by more people who think you are amazing and everything you says is funny and every idea you have is incredible. By the time you come back through the door, you're not Mrs. Charming. You don't have the last word.
Hey there, I'm Daddo, and you have joined us in the bathroom for separate bathrooms.
Us being, I'm the husband. I'm the man behind the woman.
Beside, honey, beside. Wouldn't you say?
Okay. No, I would say that. I've just got written man behind the woman. My name's Cam, Daddo.
Yeah.
By the way. Our guests today, we know the woman. She's very well known to us. She's been entertaining us for years on our screens and on stage. However, her husband, we don't know much about.
We don't.
He is the man behind the woman in this case.
And very happily.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, we're talking about Julia Morris and her husband, Dan Thomas, who is also a comedian.
He was a Welsh comedian. I had to go online to find out who he was. And there's not much of him online. So anyway,
I've looked forward to find out more about him, though.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys have been married 18 years. They've got a couple of daughters. And they're really interesting. So how are you feeling about having them in?
I'm excited. I have her book, Julia Morris Makes It Easy. And you know I've been laughing out loud as I read this book and reading to you little bits and pieces from it. So let's bring them into the bathroom. I just have to read you the foreword because I read this to you already, Cam. I've also read it to our daughter because I just think it's really funny. So I wanted to read it again.
All right. I wasn't listening the first time usually, so I'm ready to hear it again.
All right, you got it. Okay, here we go. It says, well, I am not Julia Morris, but I'm just reading it as it's written.
Got it.
Hi. I'm Julia Morris, the famous Julia Morris you love off the TV. Wow. We're only a few lines in and I've already said Julia Morris 3 times. I think that's a really promising start because not only have I equaled my previous personal best number of times that I, Julia Morris, have got the name Julia Morris into an introduction, but now you're pretty clear who to thank for the life-changing journey on which you're about to embark on. It's me, Julia Morris. Just in case you were wondering. Welcome to my little book. This is the book she's written, Julia Morris Makes It Easy. The publishers insisted on a foreword to bump up the word count. And can you believe they wanted me to ask somebody else to write it? I mean, sure, there would be heaps of other celebrities queuing up to say nice things about me, but this is my book. And I didn't want Reese Witherspoon or Natalie Portman stealing all the limelight at the beginning. It had absolutely nothing to do with them not returning my requests on Instagram. Anyway, I decided to do the foreword myself, and I thought, it's only 4 words. How hard can it be? It was easy. The 4 words I chose were, this book is great. Then the publisher told me it needed to be a bit longer than that. I mean, seriously, can this generation even count? They also said if I wrote the foreword myself, then technically it's called a preface. But no matter what you read in the gossip mags, I haven't had any plastic surgery. My current face is my preface, so I insisted on this bit being called the foreword to make sure nobody got confused. I guess it was only a matter of time before I wrote a self-help guide. People are always asking me for advice with questions like, why are you still on TV? Or how do I unsubscribe from your mailing list? I've always put it off because I think books are really overrated. Like, who could be bothered? The only words I'm interested in reading are positive comments on my Instagram feed or the cash amount on my check. But then I had a surprise tax bill and all of a sudden writing a book sounded like a great idea. So give yourself a pat on the back for choosing my humble life manual instead of all the other rubbish out there. Find somewhere to sit comfortably where your children, partner, or pets can't read any swear words over your shoulder that might have slipped in by accident. And join me as I tell you about a self-help system more mind-blowing than Alf Stewart's brain tumour in Home and Away. What a great forward, Julia Morris.
And with that, let's welcome Julia Morris and her husband, Dan Thomas, to the bathroom. Hi, guys.
How are you
Thank
guys?
you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to
I'm
meet
like,
you.
listen, while you're reading it out, I'm like, which bits did Dan write, which bits did I write? And I'm sure any of the things making fun of me Dan wrote, and anything that is truly spectacular about me, I might ascribe.
Yeah, anything even slightly or massively aggressively, passively or straightforward aggressive was done by me. So,
what a great team you are already.
anything deluded and loving would have been Julia.
Well, we decided to sit down and write the book last year. Dan had said, like we were both sort of observing during those early days of the COVID lockdown where all celebrities were coming out of the woodwork with their amazing advice. And we're just kind of like, what makes you think when you've got a chef and a massive house and 15 cars that any advice that you can give me is going to be worth it? And we started making fun of the delusion of it.
Yeah.
And then up through the book. So we wrote it together during lockdown.
I had an idea for a spoof self-help book about 10 years ago, didn't I?
Yeah.
There was like a spoof business book that I called "How to Claw Your Way to the Middle and Stay There,"
Right.
and I sort of wrote the idea up, and it was just a bit confusing because you didn't really like. It was obviously trying to be satirical, but when you read it, there was no reason to know it was satirical. So then we suddenly had the idea of doing one for Julia instead, and it made sense because she's a comedian. So you hopefully get that it's going to be stupid,
Yeah.
So how's the process of working together?
It's mostly fighting.
Mostly fighting.
I mean, do you actually sit side by side?
For the first 10 minutes. Then Dan had to set me tasks because every time he would try and make me work, I would turn on him.
Yeah, we'd sort of sit together, brainstorm stuff, and then I'd go off and sort of write it up and sort of work on it. And then I'd come back with a bunch of sort of homework for Julia.
And questions.
And then she'd have a massive hissy fit about it. and then out of that would come like an idea like how to not get shit done or something like that. So
or how to avoid work.
Some of the categories. Yeah.
And then Julia might be, I'd be sort of nagging her because I'm the sort of naggy, highly strong one in our house. So I'd be sort of nagging her and going, "You're going to do this stuff," and then Julia'd be sort of complaining about why she hasn't done it, and then out of that would come consplaining. And then
because I'd have to consplain every step of the way, that everyone else in the lockdown was doing nothing. How come we were working this hard?
Yeah.
Also, because we both see the same psychologist, we had a lovely window into, our strengths and our weaknesses as well. So, so we sort of used
we sort of dip in
that against each other, really.
Yeah.
There's nothing like some information to work against the other one.
That's right. Why not use it?
The psychology part of it, do you guys sit in that together or are they separate sessions?
Separate sessions, but I reckon about once every, how often do you reckon? Well, about once every...
Twice a day.
I was going to say once a year.
Yeah.
We obviously both get to top up point with each other where we're like, okay, not just separate bathrooms, but like, do we need to rent? Now it's 2 flats.
Different countries.
And then the admin of trying to, thinking about, God, do you sell the house? How do you do? Where are we up to? Do you really want to? Are you just dealing with someone else's shit if you go out into the world and choose somebody else to start a new life with? And you're kind of like, oh, aren't I going to take all of my shit to that location?
Yeah.
Should we just try and work on this shit here?
Yeah.
Because when there's lots of good stuff, it goes invisible when you're in your corners,
Yeah.
And that, I think in the lockdown, certainly in the last 12 months, and the frustration of not knowing what last year was about and 33 weeks in the home together, I think...
We thought we'll get through this by doing a really intense project together. That's going to help
everything.
That's going to help everything. That makes things much more relaxed.
My main question was, why am I not on the couch?
You've got a couple of daughters, Ruby and Sophie. Now, were they homeschooled during COVID? Were they around while you were writing the book?
When we say homeschooled, we meant they were ignored and allowed to access their screens as much as they felt like it 24 hours a day. Yes,
yes, that was the next question.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we were writing the book too, so we were in this weird bit where we were like, we've all got homework, not realising that it was going to go on as long as it did.
Yeah, right.
But what we did with the youngest, who's at that stage was in grade 6, so she was also super sad about, this is my graduating year. There was a lot of naturally feeling sorry for themselves and trying to explain 33 weeks in the house.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost
which none of us understood.
No, we didn't know that, obviously, as we sort of first went into that first 6 weeks, and then it just kept going. So it sort of feels like, even in parenting terms, the last 12 months haven't been any of the ways that you thought you were going to do life.
Yeah. And then the main thing they learned from lockdown was how to put on an arm brace for carpal tunnel syndrome from tapping at their iPad so constantly.
Yeah. Oh, and also the dowager's hump from looking at the iPad like that.
And the tech neck. They get a tech neck too. Yeah.
Generation of hunchbacks in Victoria.
How's their sense of humour? I mean, both of you are comedians. I mean, have they got a great sense of humour too, the two of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Very funny. And also now sort of coming of age where they see our foibles for real. Like they've definitely, lots of people talk about that crossover of going from my parents are superheroes to, my parents are as mental as everyone else.
Yeah.
And they're, definitely taking a nice deep dive into the second zone now as we move away from superhero phase and into the stuff with every step of the way. Then you also have that moment where you think you're speaking to almost adults, and throughout the conversation you're like, we're actually still in very different roles.
None of us are adults.
No, none of us are.
Pre-kids, how did you guys actually meet? What's the story there?
We were introduced by some friends of ours, and we'd met a couple of times.
In London.
We were up at the Edinburgh Festival, and the Edinburgh Festival is a location of much drinking. I think I'd been at an afternoon garden gin party, and I don't know, Dan had been on the end of a yard glass or something, and then I sort of saw Dan across a big bar where all the comics hang out, and then a beelined over, and I can't remember my exact words. Can you?
I don't know. There was a headlock involved. Something. So it's all very consensual.
It might have been something like, "Do you want a root or not?"
Spoken like a true Aussie gal.
But Dan was scared to say no. He told me years later. He's like, I was a little bit scared to say no. I didn't know what would happen.
I didn't, but I do now. You smooth talking.
Yeah. Why didn't I say no?
So, Dan, you followed Julia to LA and to Australia.
I just follow her everywhere.
Yeah.
Just taking down her thoughts and
Lucky duck.
turning them into
comedy gold.
Into books. But you've been happy enough to do that?
Yeah. Well, I was sort of half working between advertising and comedy when we had Ruby, and then Julia got a job offer in Australia for Foxtel. And
for like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
We just thought, let's give it a go.
That was from when you were in Hollywood?
That was when we were in London. So Ruby's now 14. She would have been 5 months old, and a call came through from Foxtel, do you want to come out and host a show? And it was a finite period of time, and at that stage not only was Dan doing stand-up in a venue in London at night, but he was going to an advertising job. So he'd sort of be gone at 7 a.m. and come back at 8 o'clock at night with a brand new baby. And he's like, this is a rip-off. Mm. And, I want to be the one at home too. And so when that offer came, I'm like, this could be a chance to have a turn. Yeah. We just didn't realise how long that term was going to last.
Yeah, I saw an opportunity to turn the tables and become the trophy wife that I
am. Brilliant.
He's got a T-shirt on saying "trophy wife." By the way, we get to see the value of that.
So you were working in advert, because I looked you up. Obviously, Julia's got this expansive resume going on. Yeah. And I'm like, now who's the fella? So I've gone onto Google and gone, hello, into the World Wide Web, and I'm just thinking, okay, there's a couple of videos of you doing a set in Gaelic, or it had Gaelic or Welsh subtitles.
No, I think that's a different Dan Thomas. That's why
I thought you've lost a lot of weight and you look really handsome. Who's that guy?
Lockdown worked for some of us. No, there is. I think there's a different Dan Thomas. In Wales, every third child in Wales has to be called Dan Thomas. So
that's part of the law.
So,
also Dan has a surprisingly low footprint on the internet.
I have deliberately low footprint on the internet, aside from standing next to Julia at the occasional Logies or something.
Which he did actually join Twitter a number of years ago. It didn't go well with the first tweet.
It was when we lived in Sydney in 20...
F off or something?
But no, it was about 2011 and I joined Twitter and my first tweet was really, we were living in Sydney and I said, "Dear Wentworth Courier, my recycling bin says thank you for its weekly snack." And then not realising that I'd logged into Julia's account and tweeted it from that, at which the Wentworth Courier said, "Oh, furious."
They were super hurt. They were like, "We've always supported you and can't believe that, this is how you treat us." And I was like, and then how do you say it wasn't me?
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't me.
It was my idiot husband.
Throw the hubby under the bus.
And so I left social media forevermore. And I also have a massive history of just putting my foot in my mouth as well. So I'm just kind of better kept off to the sides because I just got massive foot in mouth disease. So
someone else in this room also suffers from the foot and mouth disease. I'm not going to say who it is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I just did it, so I'm glad we cleared up the Dan Thomas, who's not the Welsh subtitled fella on the internet that I saw. Our 15-year-old is a beast on social media, and we don't know all of her handles, but we know a couple of them, and some of the things that she's posting. But what are your thoughts on the social media? Because your kids are right there too.
Oh, somebody put a phone number up of some famous person from Stranger Things, and our youngest, who is 12.
This is Sophie.
She said, she said, I wrote something really funny because they're all right into their,
And she is hilarious. Right. She's really funny.
Very funny. So she sent a text to the phone number. I'm not even joking. I was like, what? And it said something like, I don't know if you've got a dog, but I'm going to come around to your house and eat your dog.
But it was incredibly detailed. It was this incredibly detailed spoof death threat that with the wrong mood on, you might have possibly interpreted as a less funny death threat.
I think I'm going to contact the police because there's a proper maniac after me. And I'm like, first of all, it told me a lot about people who are bullying people online. You're like, okay, it's someone who's 12 who thought that was hilarious. You should die. She didn't say you should die. It was nothing like that.
Yeah.
But because I said we had to really sit down and have a proper chat. And he's like, that is like gross bullying. She's like, and she got such a fright.
I know, we were like,
she's like, it's a joke. And I'm like, yeah, but
probably illegal, honey.
Yeah.
Maybe take that back.
You've done it from your phone number.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Like there's so many. Yes, she did get it.
Because she came down really pleased with herself, like, hey, listen to this, guys.
Yeah.
What's got two thumbs and makes everyone laugh?
Yeah, not you, mate. Exactly. I was like, first of all, you need to write, this is a joke, send another text with that.
Yeah.
This is a joke, I'm sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just,
I guess the only good thing is that she didn't text it from your phone number.
Yeah, totally.
Or my
Julia Morris
Instagram.
threads a celebrity.
The Wentworth Courier would have gone nuts on you for that one.
Although we still pay the bill, so I feel we'd be liable because she's underage. Luckily we.
And the things that you think they know. I don't know how you didn't know that. How did you not know to ask a policeman? How did you not know to go into a shop and speak? Like, how do you? I feel like they're together and they want to say, for example, they want to take little trips into the city and walk around with their girlfriends on a Friday afternoon until 6 p.m. But then, it's, if someone's missed the train or someone has been left in the city or whatever, it's like, what do you mean someone was left in the city?
Yeah. Well, you have no idea what they don't know until you find out what they don't know.
Which is the scary part. Absolutely.
Which is the whole, journey of teenagerhood.
Yeah.
I said journey, sorry.
Oh, my God.
How much has humour helped you through the tough times in your marriage, or has it helped you through the tough times?
Yeah.
I think it both helps and hurts. So because it helps bond us and it's a shared interest and it helps us get through things that are difficult. But it also, when we're grumpy with each other, we can be pretty vicious by with a gag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yes. That are disposable. So they're
but more.
Don't know they're cutting as deep as they do when you sort of I'm furious and another thing.
Yeah. Pretty helps more than hurts.
Helps more than hurts.
Is there ever a moment when you go, no, actually, I need you to be serious right now? This is important to me.
I don't know. What do you reckon? We both kind of click in pretty.
We just kind of get that, you know.
Yeah, when the stakes are rising, no one's mucking around, or neither of us are off our nuts, or we're not someone waiting for the other person to start behaving.
And we're not just sort of silly all day. Like I'm quite, you know, I'm mainly like sort of sitting at my desk like a robot writing and not being interrupted most of the day, and sort of being sort of increasingly grumpy, you know, middle-aged man. And then
knowing that stuff about ourselves helps. When we lived in Los Angeles, we went to see this woman called the Velvet Hammer. And she was an amazing marriage counsellor, because at that time, we definitely get into periods of time where we are like in our corners, I think it's called. Yeah. And so each time we come back together to try and come together to fix that, most of the time it's one worried about the other, and then, you know, getting it wrong, and it manifests itself as fury. And so there is a lot of that. You don't talk much about the good times, you know, like we just spent all Sunday laughing. It was the best. Yeah. But you do tend to over talk, you know, when things aren't suiting you.
You mentioned the Velvet Hammer, which kind of sounds like some exotic dancing room that you can mud wrestle at.
She was not mucking around, was she?
Yeah.
So I remember her saying, because I tend to be quite relaxed in my approach to life, and Dan's very definite about his approach to life. So she was like, Dan, you could loosen the noose, and Julia, you could actually turn up a bit more and be a little bit more proactive. I was going to say in getting things done, but it's not like I'm lazy, but my, you know, work is so intense. We also have a bit of a fly in, fly out part of our relationship throughout the course of the year as well, because if I'm away, that is it. It's all Dan, all day, you know, getting those two kids out of bed, getting the breakfast, please, begging to go to school, get them to school. You got like 5 hours to take a breath, and then you go and pick them up and the whole thing starts again. Yeah. And when they're little, it's difficult because they're tricky in different ways. When they're teenagers, it's just different. So when you're doing that all by yourself, and then I'm away working like a dog, so by the time I get home, I'm like, I could really do with a week off. And Dan is like, I have just had everyone. Here you go.
Does this sound at all familiar?
We just talked about this in our last podcast, because I'm you, Dan. I'm you, and then Cam's Julia. But of course, we all want our break. When you're back together again, you both want a break, and it's just like, somebody take over for
and it's anything but, isn't it?
No,
it's anything but.
And for me, it's always tricky because, and somewhat probably, I don't know if it's similar for you, Dan, but it's like, because Julia has the sparkly role, you know, the celebrity out there, whereas and Cam does too. So, you know, the menial tasks of like the breakfast and the cleaning and the vacuum, you don't really get a lot of kudos for that. But like, hey, celebrity, get me out of here, or, you know, something Cam's doing, it's like, wow, he's a star. He doesn't have to come home and do the cleaning. I'm like, yes, he does, which he does when he's home. But it's a tricky thing to maneuver around.
Yeah, so. Totally.
Years ago, I was working on House Husbands, and at the same time, I got the role hosting Australia's Got Talent. And I remember Dan saying then, he's like, okay, you're now in a position where this is probably going to take you, you know, up to that next level of the levels of showbiz. And he said, you're going to be surrounded by more people who think you are amazing, and everything you says is funny, and every idea you have is incredible. And then you're going to come home here, and the chasm between the two is definitely going to grow. So by the time you come back through the door, you're not Mrs. Charming. You don't have the last word. So having to come and get back into how that rhythm of four works, that takes a little bit of time. Yeah. And you're so excited about coming home to each other. I can't wait. I want to be in your arms. Amazing, amazing. And then 4 days in, I'm like, what the did you just say to me?
And that's really where a lot of the book comes from, isn't it? It's a celebrity believing their own hype.
Yes.
So whereas we're all about dragging you right back down to earth when you walk through the door and remembering that you're nothing in this house. So there's a great book. I don't know if there's William Goldman, the screenwriter who wrote Marathon Man and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He wrote this brilliant book called Adventures in the Screen Trade, and in it he talks about people believing their own hype. And there's this great insight. He has something along the lines of, and the second you believe it, you're finished, but you don't even know you are. So my job is to grind you back down.
Yeah. I love that you guys have seen a therapist. Do you find that a lot of people are surprised by that? I mean, Australia's coming around to therapy, but do people still kind of get a little bit surprised that you actually go see a therapist?
I'm a big fan of telling everyone everything. Because I like to flush out the dark corners where I'm thinking, if loads more people saw a psychologist, everyone would be a little bit more chill, because it's not about what the world's doing to you or what your partner's doing to you, what the kids are doing to you. It's what you're doing to yourself, what you're allowing and where your boundaries are. And so the more you can kind of get to know your downsides, the things that make you annoying to everybody else, then you can at least try and turn the volume down on those. Or, you definitely have to take stock once every 12 months and have a bit of a good long hard look at yourself, because you get into a pattern of behaving or a pattern of talking to each other in a certain way, and you can go too far down the line where it cannot be resuscitated.
And also understanding that you're the only thing in your world that you can change
and control
or control or have any meaningful impact on. Like you nobody can change their partner, except in our case, where I will try and change and improve you to the minute one of us dies.
Look how much better I am.
One of us wins the war of marriage.
So I learned to transfer my need to change and mold Alison to my mistress called golf. I have a golf ball that I try and manipulate and
that bitch.
And change.
I like it.
And I
She
spend a
loves
lot
a
of time
walk.
with her, and we were up at 2:00 the other morning having a very interesting conversation
The thing is, when you're out with her, you've got your own bunker.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I can grab her by the shaft and it's no problem.
Balls and all sorts of. That's too much sexual innuendo that we.
And now you're
we've tried.
now you're happily failing to change your golf ball.
Indeed. What do you guys do for fun outside of writing books?
With what's happening in Victoria at the moment, we're kind of only just coming out of the cocoon almost. So to do stuff together, I don't know.
We haven't found those sort of together things again really this year. I mean, you've been quite busy.
But when we do stuff we went out to, for the first time, I don't even know when we went out to a band last, but last Saturday night we went out to see a band, and I'd sort of forgotten about being kind of a little bit public property.
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous about what happens to me when I go out. So we get into this pub and the band's starting and it's lovely. So first of all, people are like, oh my God. And so I spend most of the night dealing with the, oh my God, while band's like, I'll just, people are handing him cameras to take selfies and just weird disrespectful moments like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm, as people get more drunk in the scene, other people do it. So then they get more. I'm not going to miss my moment. So I'm just kind of in some 2-hour selfie headlock. And I don't want to be not impolite, but I don't want to, I want them to have that moment, which is this weird double-edged sword. And Dan Sorter spends the night by himself or making some new pals nearby and every time I try to go back to watch the band, if I want to dance or, even mouth the words, then these days somebody's filming me.
Yeah.
Right.
So all of a sudden you're just like, oh, God, why wouldn't I want to be at home?
Yeah. I don't blame people for that, for this idea of owning you, because it is exciting and it's fun. And I was running sand dunes with a mate of mine this morning and he got all excited because the captain of Parramatta the football club was running on the sand dunes. He was like, "Where's my hero?" And I'm like,
and we're all the same. Every time I see Magda or I'm like, oh my God, it's so, so I totally get it.
Yeah.
But then that's
There's a flip side.
It comes back to me, and am I in the right frame of mind tonight to go there? I just had forgotten all about that's what it's like when you're out, because honestly, it's been so long since I was out like that. If we go out, we'll go and see friends, won't we? We'll meet another couple, or and have a bit of a laugh as a gang. So that's what we do together, really, which sounds like a day-to-day thing of seeing your friends and being social. But
or you'll go up and down an escalator like Sally Fields.
Yes, and Dan will call out, "That's Julia Morris," and I'll have my bucket filled up of her.
They do say it's 21 days to make a habit, and because you guys were locked up for 33 weeks, it's a lot of habit to break. But I think everyone is doing the best they can do, with what's happened.
I think about that in terms of parenting, because in years to come, inevitably, when you'll be like, "You said this to me," and blah blah blah, and I can, and I think you can too. Hand on heart, say, "I tell you what, I did the best that I could that day." I can honestly say that. Might not have been right.
Yeah.
And I might not have handled it as well as I could have, but I'm telling you, for that day, that was genuinely my best output.
But it's only when you have your own kids that you kind of realise that of your parents, isn't it? That you just go, "Oh my God, they had no idea. They were just like, they were 25, 30 or whatever." So we're encouraging our kids to have kids at any age from now on, really.
And give them to us.
So that they can forgive us for whatever we've done wrong.
There was something very freeing about the day I realised that I was never going to be the perfect parent and never going to injure or emotionally abuse somehow my children. Like, just going, they're going to have therapy at some point, but as long as they feel like they're learning something and that they can come to mum and go, "You really messed me up by doing X, Y, and Z." It's like,
this will be me.
Yeah.
Here you go. Why don't you put some of those thoughts between these two bookends?
Because
we've definitely opened up the arena of psychology to them as well. Because you're just like, well, who else do you speak to? In years gone by, you might have an aunt who's like, "Oh, you can talk to me," but in actual fact, having someone to go, "Is this right?" Or "Is this how should I be feeling?" Or "What do I do when mum comes in her powerful self, and how do I?" So Dan reckons that both girls will be proper psychology ninjas, understanding through how their friends behave now. And we can say, "Actually, you're being manipulated. She's trying to get her way by doing that to you. So in manipulation, this is what goes on." So hopefully by the time they are out and about in the world, I mean, are they ever leaving home? That's the question you've got to ask yourself.
We're asking that a lot. We do a thing called the 2-minute shower. So we say it's 2-minute shower because we're conserving water. We're conserving words here. So it's 5 questions, short answers, please. And let's go. So
the 2-minute shower in our house is about a 50-minute shower. So we may.
You got 3 females. You're never going to win on that, Dan.
So we're not after monologues. We're after short, sharp answers. Dan, you're first on this question. Favourite comedian?
Eddie Izzard.
Julia, favourite comedian?
Dame Edna Everage. Barry Humphries.
So good.
Well, we've actually probably covered this one because the next one was favourite pastime you do together. Did we already kind of touched on?
Yeah, let's just go for number 3.
Yeah.
Eating.
We watch a lot of TV together.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah, a lot of that we do actually do that as a thing.
Do you watch comedies or do you? Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't watch much stand-up. We watch a lot of sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them American sitcom.
Favourite sitcom then?
Favourite sitcom this month, What We Do in the Shadows.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always Sunny ever, What We Do, Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I haven't watched that. I must look into that one.
Danny DeVito, isn't it? Is he in that one?
Yeah.
It's utterly brilliant.
It's insane.
If you were not comedians, what would you be?
Ooh.
Well, I'd probably be working in advertising. I'm not sure what I want to be doing.
I think I would be a flight attendant.
Oh, nice. Best word to describe each other. One word.
Oh, crikey.
Amazing.
Oh, come on. That's
You're lazy?
Describe your word. Powerful.
Is that a describing word?
Powerful and amazing.
Good
Last
words.
one. How do you show kindness to each other?
Morning cup of coffee.
Yes, Dan brings me a cup of coffee at my bedside every morning. How do we show kindness to each other? By being kind to each other.
Yeah.
You do the laundry when you're
Oh
at
my
home.
God, I'm obsessed by the laundry and getting it to ground zero. So when I'm home,
Yep.
which is a good deal of the time, I'm sure we talk a lot about being away, but that's for kind of 1 week, 2 weeks. For the jungle, it's 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time I'm home. So I definitely get stuck into the chores because that's part of something that I love doing.
You guys, thanks for being in the bathroom with us.
Thanks for
We
having us.
loved it. I mean, the echo was
been
dreamy.
so fun.
Go out and grab yourself a copy of Julia Morris's Makes It Easy. Clearly, it's been kind of written by the both of you.
Bit of
in
a co-write.
ways. It's certainly dedicated to you, Dan, which I love.
The dedication, so we could look back, as it says, without whom this book would never have been written, quite literally.
Yeah, exactly. It's hilarious. I just loved it. Thank you for writing it. It's given me a really good giggle from my other self-help serious books. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great to hear.
Right.
yeah,
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us into your home as well.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
And there they go.
Could you imagine having dinner with Julia, Dan, and their 2 daughters? I just think you would laugh your ass off the entire time.
Yeah, you just want to listen.
Yeah.
I'm actually very keen to meet their kids, to be around them.
I wonder if they'll be stand-up comedians when they get older. I wonder if they'll want to enter into the business.
They'll be comedic psychotherapists.
Not easy to do, stand-up comedians. You have to be really smart to be funny. Clearly 2 smart people.
That's why I'm not funny.
That was kind of funny just
You
wasn't
teed
it?
that up, didn't you? Whack. Thanks for being with us. If you have any questions for us, any ideas for episodes, people that you want to hear, email us separatebathrooms@novapodcasts.com.au. We'll be back next week with another fabulous couple, I think.
Yeah, we hope so. No doubt. No doubt. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.